And call the meeting to order. A roll call of the members. We have Mrs. Howerton, Dr. Durrance, Mr. Whitten, Superintendent Dr. Longshore, our board attorney, Mrs. Nash, and tonight, Mrs. Mandy Molina will be acting as our board secretary. So thank you very much for stepping in so that Mrs. Wellborn could have a little bit of a break for a week. We are going to move right into our school board member committee reports. So do we have any of those tonight? Okay. I did want to share, I am part of that, the child death review panel, and although I cannot discuss what is discussed during that time, and this is quite appropriate because we have quite a few administrators here tonight and some school staff as well. There were a couple of cases that we reviewed that were some of our Highlands County students, unfortunately, and they were very complimentary of reports that had been made from the school level. And so I was very proud of that fact that they were very complimentary of our staff and our school, that they were consistent and persistent in reporting things. So thank you guys. I know that's not easy to do. So then at this time, we will move into our presentation of petition, comments, concerns, or reports. Yeah, we'll go ahead and move it over. Thank you. This will be items that are not on the agenda. Those that are on the agenda will serve later. So for tonight, we just have one, and it is Mr. Larry Overfield on democratic, republic, or oligarchy.
Larry Overfield, citizen, Highlands County, property owner, taxpayer. Good evening, school board members, Dr. Longshore, Mrs. Nash, Madam Secretary Mandy Maloney, and members of the audience. Did I get that name right, Mandy? Okay. A democratic republic is defined as a government of representatives elected by the people to govern. An oligarchy is a form of government where a small group of people holds power, probably not elected. In my book, that's defined as ruling. Since 1968, there have been 10 court cases involving the teaching of creation or evolution. Some banning the teaching of evolution, others adding creation teaching alongside evolution. The latter would be my choice for two reasons. First, I would have no problem putting creation against other hypotheses of origins, as scientific evidence supports creation better than any other origin supposition. Second, I and many others who hold to creation would see our tax dollars working for us. Also, we will be equally represented according to the Constitution and the First Amendment. On February 19, 2008, the Florida State Board of Education adopted a science standards that explicitly require the teaching of evolution in public schools. Why? What is the evidence for evolution? DNA is evidence that evolutionists use. However, creationists use it also. I would also add that DNA is a program, like a computer program, that contains information. I don't know of any program that did not have an intelligent programmer that entered that information. Evolutionists cite the fossil records as proof of their hypothesis, using fossils to date the rocks in which they are found. Then they turn around dating the fossils recorded by the rocks that they are found in. That sounds like circular reasoning to me. Creationists also use fossil records. This record supports the theory that there was a worldwide hydraulic catastrophe in the past. We find sea-dwelling fossils on top of the mountains. How does that happen? Creation research explains that in the worldwide flood. Evolutionary research offers an explanation in a different scenario. Survival of the fittest is a biological term used by evolutionists to describe species who produce offspring fit to the changing environment. This idea has spread to social and political changing environments. We have seen this in recent years. Our college campuses have been inundated with socialistic or communistic education which supports the evolutionary hypothesis. You can see the violent results in the news. Those who do not agree with these views find themselves targets of violence. Christ Jesus offered another view. He tells us in Matthew chapter 22, verses 37 through 40, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the great and foremost commandment. The second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself." I have to ask you, board members, don't you think our students should be offered such a choice in the classroom? Approaching life in a survival of the fittest view, or embracing the idea of love your neighbor? I'm sorry, I got a little more time yet. The thing that bothers me is that the theory or the hypothesis of evolution is coming into every area of our lives. It's not just in science, it's in government, it's in, I can't begin to name, I should have brought a list that I have, but it's just in all our lives. And yet, the same evidence that evolutionists use, creationists use. One's dubbed science, the other one's dubbed religion. Uh-oh, I went over, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Overfield. Okay, we will move to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I would just like to thank Ms. Connor and Ms. Irwin for the overview, the very thorough overview we had yesterday in our workshop. So many things to be proud of here in Highlands County, and I know many of our administrators and teachers and staff are on vacation or at conferences across the state, but for the folks that are here, I want to recognize you. I know that we have some students here, we have some teachers and staff here, and so as I call your level, I just want you to stand up and remain standing for just a minute. So if you're a student or a teacher, staff member, or parent at the elementary level, I want you to stand up proudly. Just remain standing. Remain standing. You got to just keep standing. Keep standing. Middle school, parents, teachers, staff. I see. Okay, there you are. Good. High school, principals, staff, teachers, parents. And finally, our district staff, all together. Everybody, district staff, stand up. We're all in this together. It won't be long, and we will have grades coming out in the very few next week or two. And when we do, we'll bring all you guys back in because we just want to celebrate all the hard work. Thank you so much for working so hard with our kids in Highlands County. So congratulations on all the good results. At this time, Dr. Ball is going to come up and do a presentation on Goal 3. So, Dr. Ball? You might want to move it over there.
Yeah,
so you can
if it's
see.
easier
Yes,
for
it
you.
might be easier.
Thank you, Mr. Overfield.
It's good exercise.
Good evening. I'm Carla Ball, Director of Human Resources, and I have the privilege of leading Goal 3 for Stocktake, and our goal is on recruitment and retention of quality staff. And so we know that recruiting, growing, and retaining a high-quality staff will have a direct impact on positive student achievement and school morale. And so we want to recruit quality staff, we want to build capacity in that staff, and then we want to be able to keep them. We know that's important to the students, and that's important to our district. So to strengthen recruitment practices, we want to increase the percentage of positions filled with in-field certified teachers from 81% from the 22-23 school year to 90% by the 26-27 school year. And you can see from our data, the percentages continue to increase. In 22-23, we were at 81% at the end of the school year. We went up to 82% in 23-24, and we just finished 24-25 with 89% of our teachers in field and certified. And we ended the 24-25 school year with 32 long-term subs. And of course, that's too many. We want to continue to see that number decrease and our percent of in-field certified teachers to increase. So what are we doing in order to recruit a quality staff? We are participating in recruiting fairs. We've done in-state and out-of-state recruiting fairs. We have college internships. We work very closely with South Florida State College. We just hosted 7 level 3 interns. As of June 20th, we had hired 4 of those interns. We have 3 level 2s planned for 25-26 school year. We also have 1 speech language intern, 1 social worker, and 1 school counseling. So that's also very exciting to see those positions out there. And then we continue to recruit with TPG Cultural Exchange, and we are currently at 34 teachers with TPG. And we did have 2 that are having to leave us at the end of this year. We have 1 who finished her 5-year contract and another who had some medical concerns, so she's decided that she needs to go a different route. So, but we've been very, fortunate with the quality of teachers that we've been able to work with TPG. We also have our Grow Your Own program, where we offer elementary ed pathways at each of the high schools. And we also offer the para-pro test for any graduating senior who may be interested in a non-instructional position upon graduation. And while they're attending college, they're able to work during the day. So we do pay for the para-pro for any of those students that are interested as well. So once we recruit them, we know that it's important to build that capacity, and we know that building capacity is going to help to retain those individuals. And we want to build capacity in all of our staff, in our administrators, in our instructional staff, and our support staff. And we need to provide quality professional learning opportunities for all of them. And we're also looking at targeting those within their first 5 years, because our data is showing that that's where we need to focus. And then we also want to provide a training timeline targeting retention strategies. So in order to build capacity, we do offer an Aspiring Leaders program that is facilitated by the Heartland Education Consortium. We just finished our 3rd cohort. We've had 44 individuals complete that program over the last 3 years. So we're very excited about building our administrative pool. We have school leadership opportunities at each of our campuses, and those vary. We have had opportunities for administrators to share out at principals meetings so that they can share the different opportunities that they offer on their campuses, because it's important to be able to put our teachers in leadership roles, because we need them to one day become administrators as well, and we want them to have opportunities to see if maybe that's the direction they want to go. Again, you'll see that some of our strategies go across the board because they impact all of our goals. And again, we have our Grow Your Own. We have the AA degree, where we do pay for our non-instructional staff to earn their AA degree, so we have tuition reimbursement for that. Again, we have the elementary ed pathways at each of our high schools, offering intro to teaching, human growth and development, and foundations and DE teaching. We have the Para-Pro, and we also have a scholarship page on our district website, as well as each of our high schools, offering opportunities for parents to have access to different available scholarships for individuals to apply for. We also offer the curriculum, the triads, where we have our leaders walking campuses and working together to build their capacity. We have coaching available through our content area specialists and our reading and math coaches on our campuses. And then we also would like to provide opportunities for assistant principals to work under different principals to broaden experience. I know that I personally worked under 3 different principals, and it was just invaluable having those opportunities to learn different leadership styles. And one of the things that we have gotten away from is just offering that training to assistant principals. We, have monthly meetings for principals, but we want to make sure that we're bringing in the APs and providing them with the information as well, like HR 101, Finance 101, and so we'll be offering quarterly training opportunities to them. we want to identify administrators to participate in the Commissioners Academy each year. We have 2 participating for the coming year, so we're excited about that. And then just providing ongoing professional learning opportunities to all staff, but we also want to target those within their first 5 years of teaching. So once we get them recruited, we build capacity, what do we do to keep them? And so we want to increase the percentage of non-retiring effective leaders staying in the district year to year from 93% at the end of 21-22 to 98% by school year 26-27. So when we're looking at administrators, we are at 96% retention rate. We did have 2 leaders resign this year. We have Ms. Hathaway and Ms. Lanier. And so we want to make sure that we're able to build that capacity and retain them in those positions. We also want to increase the percentage of non-retiring effective teachers staying in the district year to year from 89% end of year 21-22 to 94% by 26-27. And as you can see from 21-22, that percentage has increased each year. Now our numbers fluctuate every day. The number of vacancies we have, the number of infield, because they're constantly taking tests and getting certified. But as of the 23rd, we had 37 resignations for the 24-25 school year, so we're currently at 95%. That will probably drop some, but we are almost into July, so we've been out of school for a month, so I think that is a positive perspective. And so we are currently at 95%, where we were at 89% in 21-22. We also want to decrease the number of effective teachers leaving the profession within their first 5 years of teaching. When we look at that data, of our 37 resignations that we had for 24-25, 16 of them were in their first 5 years. And so we know, and a lot of the people in our audience knows, teaching's hard. It is a tough profession, and so we need to make sure we're providing the opportunities and the support needed in order to help build that capacity and help them be successful in the field so that we can keep them. So some of the strategies we're doing to improve staff retention, we have through student services, they're able to provide tuition reimbursement for school guidance counselors, which is huge. And that was one of the areas that we've struggled with in the past to fill because it requires a master's degree. And so with the tuition reimbursement, if they're able to obtain a guidance resource position and they sign up for their master's, then they're able to reimburse for that program. So that's that has been a very positive practice that Student Services has put in place. We have our years of service recognition at the board meetings, where we do, because of the number, we're only able to focus on those top heavy numbers. Which is so exciting to be able to celebrate. But we also do, we have pins for different increment years, and we did send those out to the schools so that the schools can celebrate the other individuals at the end of year awards. We also have certification exams that we're able to waive by DOE if individuals meet certain criteria. If they're on a temporary certificate and they're trying to upgrade to the professional exam or professional certificate, there are some exams that we're able to waive, and that has also had a very positive impact on our teachers. We want to provide, we do provide administration with activities and tools to build a positive school culture. We have administrators who participate in stay interviews, providing the note cards, 30-second surveys, and just a variety of other activities to help build school morale and to communicate with staff to find out their perspective and ways that they can help the school improve as well. The certification analyst in human resources works very closely with teachers on temporary certificates to help them meet their requirements in order to upgrade to the professional certificate. She's in constant communication. We also have a program called 240 Tutoring that is available to staff looking to pass certification exams, and we've had a lot of success with teachers utilizing that resource and being able to pass tests that they've struggled with. And then, of course, we offer a competitive compensation with our base salary starting at $50,000. So where are we at? Currently, as of 6/24, we have 25 instructional vacancies. At this time last year, we were sitting with 77. And so I'm very excited about that. We have 10 in elementary, 15 in secondary, and we have 12 and a half in for our non-instructional. So we still have too many, but we are working on getting those filled. And we have made great strides.
Do those vacancies include where there are long-term subs?
So long-term subs have not been opened up yet.
Okay.
Those will open up on July 1st. And so those vacancies have not been filled, or those have not been filled with long-term subs yet. I will tell you, there are a couple of additional vacancies that administrators have communicated to me that they have a plan for. And so I did not include them. We've got a couple who have they've either just finished their program and they're taking their tests, or they have needed to finish their ESOL for reappointment. And so I did not include those in our numbers, so it's
Okay.
a solid 25.
Okay.
And then as far as substitutes go, we do have 267 active substitutes in our district, so we do have a nice pool. Sometimes it can still be challenging at the schools because the individuals are able to determine what days they want to sub, at what levels they want to sub, in what grade levels or areas they want to serve. And so we do have a solid pool of subs. We actually processed 122 of those last year. We currently have 17 processed and ready to go for the coming year. We have another 10 in the process and 8 that we're verifying ethics on, and then we'll move them through the steps as well. So that's another 35 that we hope to move into the active pool, as well as we'll be getting another advertisement up, and we're looking at doing a recruiting event in July for substitutes as well. So that is all I have. Do we have any questions on anything?
Do you all have any?
No.
I have 2 questions.
Okay.
When you were talking about this aspiring leaders, so I think you said 44 have completed it in the last 3 years.
That's correct.
Do you have even just an approximation? Have we hired any that
So-
have gone through that in those last 3 years?
So with the Aspiring Leaders, it is a program that is required for for someone wanting to be an administrator. And so we actually, it was either our first or it might have been our second cohort. We had some individuals who had been hired in the role that went through the program. And so I know, I believe Patricia Smith was in the program,
Okay.
was hired, and she went through the program. And potentially Kim Velasquez, I'd have to double check. But I know we've had a few that may have gotten hired first. So the requirement is that they either need to be in the program, have completed the program, or on the waiting list to start the program. And
Okay.
so if they have not completed it, when they get picked up, then they still go through it.
Okay, okay. And then the other thing, and this might be a Ms. Blackman question, but you may be able to answer too. The school guidance counselors, I think that tuition reimbursement came through was that the program, the Nova University, where then, no, so 2
No.
different things. Okay. Do we have any counselors that have taken advantage of this where we reimburse their tuition?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we have. Okay,
Yes, several.
okay, good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Ball.
you.
Thank you.
Just a few other announcements. I would like to request permission to pull item number 4B, agreement with Agile Sports Technology, Inc. This item will be brought before the board at a later date. And also permission to pull item number 6B, the dual enrollment articulation agreement from tonight's agenda. This one will also be brought back to the board at our July 8th meeting. Permission to revise item number 13A to remove personnel names and update the job title of Coordinator of Safety and Security to Director or Coordinator of Safety and Security, and I think you have that information in your folders. Requesting permission to cancel the July 8th, 2025 Master Board Training. We will reschedule this meeting when we meet in September. And then just a reminder that immediately following tonight's meeting, there will be an executive session to discuss collective bargaining. That's it, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so then with that, we will move into adopting the agenda as revised. There is no public comment on this.
Motion to approve consent, or agenda items as revised.
I second that motion.
I have a motion from Dr. Durance. I have a second from Mr. Whitten. No public comment. Is there any board comment? Okay, we're ready.
Yes.
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 Yes. All right. Oops. We will move into a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion from Mrs. Howerton, a second from Dr. Durance. Do I have any public comment on these? Okay, any board comments?
No.
Okay,
Yes.
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 Thank you for Sheriff Blackman being here tonight. See him in the crowd.
I guess, did you want to say anything?
Yeah.
Hey, look,
I
they
know,
were-
you came. Too late for us to invite him to come up. Thank you for taking your time to come. Item 9A, consider approval of the superintendent's recommendation for personnel except for the reappointment rosters for the MIS department.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Dr. Durance, a second from Mr. Whitten. Is there any public comment on this? Any board member comments?
Okay, so this is everybody except minorities.
MIS.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so, I just wanted to say that, I will be voting in approval of this item. I do so with a sense of reluctance, understanding the urgency of action needed on the allocation before the July 1st deadline. It is important to recognize that this document remains a work in progress and we can make adjustments as necessary in the near future. I've stated my position in various workshops and comments and meeting. We are fortunate that our legislator have managed to stabilize our funding levels. Actually, our challenges, along with many other counties, is declining enrollment. This has been happening over the last 3 years. The message from the state level indicates that the next few years may bring even more significant financial challenges, not only with declining enrollment, but other factors. Additionally, as of July 1st, if the governor signs the bill in question, there could be a significant implication for our public school buildings. We need to carefully consider how these changes might impact the buildings we have already voted to prioritize for the future. Therefore, we must scrutinize those programs and make sure they don't have a loss of our buildings we currently have. Furthermore, we should assess our staffing positions critically and ask ourselves whether these decisions truly serve the best interest of our students and schools. And it's like Mrs. Radomski said, it has nothing to do with people, it's positions, folks. And we have got to proceed with caution. So that's just, I just kind of wanted to make that statement tonight.
Yes.
Just a minute.
Good.
Any
More
other?
comment?
Yeah,
Okay.
board member comments? Well, I will comment too, so I thank you for saying that. And I'm with you too. I have spoken many times about some of my concerns and where I think we need to look for the long term, and this is not a quick fix of things. And I've said several times that I agree with Mr. Whitten as well, and I think that we need to look at how we can do things differently. And although tonight I will vote to approve, we have much work to do, and I think that we are just getting started on that, and I will continue to voice those concerns and address things. Any other? Okay.
Yes.
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 Yes. All right. Then we need to consider approval of the superintendent's recommendation of the reappointment roster for MIS department. And this will be without Mrs. Howerton.
And should I say, I'm going to abstain as my daughter, Christy Ghost, is on the roster, conflict of interest, and I have the Form 8B has been filed.
Thank you. So do I have a motion for that approval?
A motion to approve?
A second.
I have a motion from Mr. Whitten. I have a second from Dr. Durance. Any public comment? Any board member comments? Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right, item 9B, consider approval of expulsions.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Dr. Durance, a second from Mr. Winnan. There is no public comment. Is there any board member comment? Okay.
Dr. Durance?
Yes.
Mr. Whitney?
Yes.
Mrs. Howerton?
Yes.
And Chair.
Yes. Item 9C, consider approval of Resolution 2425-13, approving and authorizing the closing to purchase the real property at 710 West Winthrop Street, Avon Park, Highlands County, Florida.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Dr. Durance. I have a second from Mr. Whitten. I do have a member from the public that has filled out the card. I'm going to apologize. It's Miss Cruz. I'm not sure how to pronounce your first name, so. Come on up and you
Is
can
that okay for you?
address
Yeah.
the board. Are you okay if we just leave the podium right there? Okay. So come on up, and you will state your name again for the board.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Niulka Cruz, but also known as Nikki. I am a concerned parent of Avon Park Elementary. I want to speak about the importance of officially including the front space of part of our school property. The School Board of Highlands County Code of Student Conduct, Policy 5500 states a zero tolerance of policy for conduct that poses a threat to school safety applying to all school grounds and school events. As a parent, I worry that if this space is not part of the school, it could be used by anyone, including someone with bad intentions, such as undercover criminals or molesters who hasn't been caught. Our children's safety must always come first. During events such as a work day, keeping in parents and visitors in a designated area prevent unnecessary movement around campus. Further enhancing security, making this space as an official part of the school ground will yield significant benefits for our students, parents, and staff. At one time, I have 5 kids to look after. Being able to park in front made it possible for me to take care of a sick child while still supporting other kids at their events. It allowed my children to walk safely with me rather than having them carried across a busy and unfamiliar area. The previous owner allowed parents to use this space, and it was proven to be a blessing for many families. I understand there are other parking options, but God has provided this space, and now it is your turn, Board of Education, to bring it to the secure circle of our school. This decision just makes sense for the safety and well-being of our students, staff, and family. Thank you for your time and considering the real safety need of our students.
Thank you, Ms. Cruz. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Ashley Culverhouse. I'm the assistant principal at Avon Elementary. I just completed my 7th year as the assistant principal there, and I have a presentation that I'd like to share with you regarding the item on the agenda for approval, the purchase of the property, in hopes that we could then use that space for parking at Avon Elementary on a permanent basis. Before I begin, I'd like to thank you all for this opportunity to discuss this further and its importance to our school. And I'd also like to thank so many of our staff and families for coming out tonight to support this presentation and the need. Okay, so our why. Oops. So we believe that this supports Goal 4 of this strategic plan, which is connecting us internally with students and parents, as well as, connecting us internally with students, parents, and staff within schools, while also connecting externally with all stakeholders throughout our community using multiple channels and media. So
Parent involvement is very important to us. We've made great strides in this area, and we want parking to be a feasible option for our parents as they're coming to different parent involvement events and award ceremonies and celebration for their children. We have great participation in our parent involvement events. On average, we have approximately 200 families attending. And as you're going to see on one of our upcoming slides, we don't have near enough parking to support that. Also, our why are these sweet little faces right here and their families. Our students and families deserve the very best that we have to offer. So thinking about goal 4 and the idea of customer service, in order to maintain and continue parent involvement at Avon Elementary, first and foremost, we must make our campus accessible to our families. It shouldn't be burdensome to visit your child's school. And this is one way that we can roll out the red carpet for all of our stakeholders, families and community members alike that are involved in our school. So why now? So Miss Audrey Renner was the owner of the property. She lived in the home, and she allowed Avon Elementary to use her vacant lots for additional parking for decades. I've been there for 7 years, and I know that there are some others in this room that have witnessed the need for this space for parking. And unfortunately, she recently passed away. So the family is from out of town, and they have put the property up for sale, which I know you guys are aware because there is a current contract on the property. And if we do not purchase this property, we cannot guarantee that the new property owner will allow us this same courtesy. Okay. So just to give you some numbers, Avon Elementary is one of the oldest schools in the district. We're very excited to celebrate 70 years this year. Our current enrollment for students, we ended the year with 520, and we have, at any time, we could have around 86 staff members. That would include our everyday staff members as well as different itinerants and district staff that are on campus. And then in addition to that, we also have some RBTs that come to help support with behavior on our campus. 28 represents the students that we serve with severe special needs. This includes students in our self-contained ESE and self-contained ESE pre-K classes. Obviously, convenient parking for their families is of the utmost priority, and so having to park somewhere else and walk a long distance could be a serious safety concern for them. The number 18 represents the current number of visitor parking spaces we have on our campus. This includes 1 handicap parking space. The other 2 gated parking areas are reserved for staff and are filled pretty much by staff, and with recent safety legislation with the single point of entry and having the campus gated, those are the only visitor parking spaces that we have to offer. So the empty lot frequency of use, the 19 plus is what represents that. So we have used those lots. Ms. Cornell and I went back through and racked our brains, and we have used those lots for parking at a minimum of 18 times, and that's just for the larger special events. Those lots are also used at any given day for different things, and I'll give you an example of that here in a moment. So here are those major events that I was referring to. We have, sorry about that. Open house, required parent conferences, which are 2 times per year, which are multiple days because teachers are allowed to schedule those throughout the parent conference week. Quarterly award ceremonies, end-of-year award ceremonies, which are approximately 4 days, and for some of those days, there's 2 separate grade levels. So the lots would be used multiple times within 2 of the 4 days. parent involvement events. And so, as I said, we've made great strides in involving our families and offering a variety of opportunities for them to get involved with their child's education and just to come out and have fun with their kids. And so we had 4 parent involvement opportunities offered this past school year in the evening, as well as VPK graduation, our VPK and kindergarten roundup, our Thanksgiving lunch, which is 2 times a year. And the reason 2 times is because we split the grade levels to help the lift on our cafeteria staff with doing all on one day. The Great American Teach-In, which is a tremendous event where we are able to bring in lots of community members, some of them sitting in this room. And so the lot has been very beneficial when we have that event for our volunteers coming in and parking. And then we also have multiple PBIS events and field trips throughout the year, and our volunteers that come to help us with those events will often park across the street as well. So again, those are just the major events in addition to some of the day-to-day instances where we might use the lots. Another example of that day-to-day might be when families come to eat lunch with their children. There are times where they may utilize that space for parking as well. And in speaking to one of our parents, she also reminded me that it had been beneficial on a couple of times when she needed to get her child in an emergency situation. And the way that the visitor parking is set up at Avon, if you have parents that are already in line for dismissal, it may be blocking some of the visitor parking. And so it's also proved to be very helpful in situations such as that. So one option that was presented as an alternative to the property purchase was for our families to utilize Head Field to park. Head Field is a baseball field that is down the street, in my personal opinion, quite a ways from Avon, but I do have a distance here for you. Head Field is 0.3 miles down from our school, so that would be over a half-mile round-trip walk for our families. And as you are aware, with the Florida heat and afternoon thunderstorms that may pop up at any time, that is not necessarily ideal. Some of our families also have mobility concerns, so that would be a challenge for them. And then obviously, because we're in elementary school, many of our families have young children and some with special needs, so that long walk could present a safety concern as well as a liability perhaps. Also, access is a challenge. My understanding is that Head Field is owned by the City of Avon Park. And so it is gated and locked, and so we would need keys to access that. We cannot guarantee the availability of that space for parking, and baseball is pretty big in Avon Park, if you're not aware, and so lots of practices, lots of games, and so we don't determine their schedule, and so we cannot, again, guarantee the availability of Head Field for parking for any event that we may be hosting at our school. And then overall impression. I'm not personally aware, and maybe this is happening in other places and I'm just not aware, but I'm not aware of any other schools in our district that where parents are required to park in an alternate location to visit their child's school. So I don't really feel that sends a favorable impression to our families. And again, going back to goal 4, we are really trying to welcome our families in and involve them and make our parents and our visitors feel welcome at our school. Okay, and so just a few more numbers for you guys. I don't know that I need to bring up the listing. If you're interested in seeing it, I do have it linked there, and we can bring that up. It's just the listing on Zillow. We do currently have a contract on it for the purchase price of $199,900. The contract was from May 19th. It does include a house and 2 vacant lots. Altogether, it's almost an acre. The purchase has been budgeted already out of capital funds, and the money's already been set aside for this purpose. The recent appraisal came in at $204,000, so that is more than what the asking price is and what we have a contract for. There are 7 current comparables, other properties that are listed currently that have not sold quite yet, ranging between $152,000 and $249,000. And there are 18 recent sales comparisons in the last month, ranging from $130,000 to $250,000. So I just wanted to share this because I want you to see that it is a fair price for the property. Opportunities. So there are several opportunities that I can think of when you're purchasing a house with 2 vacant lots. First and foremost, we're hoping that those lots could be used to create a parking lot eventually. But also, if the school board does not wish to keep the house, does not see a need for the house, perhaps it could be sold separately to recoup some of the funds. Or perhaps it could be utilized for office space for certain district employees, and by district employees, not necessarily employees that just work here at the district, but even those that may be housed at schools, but they don't work just specifically with that school alone. So some that come to mind might be migrant staff. And so again, I know that you all know a lot more about that and could probably think of more, but I was thinking itinerants, migrant support staff, and those of that nature. And again, I don't know much about this, so maybe I shouldn't say it, but it did come to mind. But I also wondered, I'm not sure as far as like with different portables at schools in the Avon Park area, or even portables here at the district office. I don't know if those are owned or if those are rented and what they are utilized for. But perhaps if they are being utilized to house some just staff and give them an office space, could maybe the house be used for office space for some of those individuals? So this is the best solution for Avon Elementary when we are talking about our parking challenge. This is not the first time. I know that parking has been a concern for schools within our district. We're not alone in this, and I know that there have been feasible solutions that have been made possible for others, and we would really like to encourage you to strongly consider this as the best solution for Avon Elementary. This may be our only opportunity to make this possible for our stakeholders. And so, the decision is in your hands. Involving families and the community at Avon Elementary is crucial. We need your vote tonight to maintain the momentum that we have started with parent involvement and continue to build upon it. Do any of you have any questions that I might be able to answer for you?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you all very much for your time. And again, families and staff, I cannot thank you enough. I appreciate you.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Ms. Culverhouse. Do we have any other public comments? No other public comments? Okay. Any board member comments?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for Ms. Renner and that family for letting us use that lot for many years with no money exchanged. I mean, it was just her time, or she allowed us to use that, and give her gifts from time to time. But for the most part, it was it was just the goodness of her heart allowing us to use that, and we have been using it. I was on Team Avon myself as an administrator directly before I decided to run for school board, and can't believe Ms. Culverhouse saying 7th year, so it's just crazy. It's hard to believe time flies. So provided 70 years ago, I'm sure they weren't thinking in terms of a bunch of SUVs driving through a parent pickup line and parking to go to the schools and all the need for these big cars and those types of things. Who knows what they were driving to school in those days? It was horse and buggy or whatever it may be, walking, I'm sure, So, but 70 years ago, it's hard to foresee what we'd be like in this time and age. Proposed a couple of different options. I know you talked about one of them, which is the house. I don't want to be in the housing business if we can help it, but certainly if we offload that house, it's going to hold the significant portion of that value as opposed to the 2 vacant lots. That's not going to be near so we could probably recoup a significant portion of all this if we just keep the 2 lots. Also, we talked about the teacherage. I know that's something that's been out there. If we can find a way to maybe trade offload the teacherage as well, that would provide some funds. So just trying to find a way. I know it's a tight budget, but this is really needed, and there's a way that we can do it and it be significantly less expensive than paying this whole amount of money. We may have to do it in the beginning up front but recoup a lot of that money back. So that was really my discussion, and talk with Dr. Longshore about those types of things. And anyways, just want to share that with you. So.
If we purchase, is this a case where we would be able to sell the house piece, or
Should be
is
3
that
separate lots, right?
It's not going to end up being like a surplus type of situation where then, do you know?
It would still be, the board would still have to dispose of it as real property, provided it can be, first of all, it's all parceled together, so we'd have to look and we have to make sure that we can split that apart. It was initially all 3 separate lots, so it probably would not be a problem, but that's something
Okay.
that we'd have to look at. From there, you all would still have to dispose of property pursuant to state board rule, and which does require you to say that you have no use for it, so it is still considered surplus property and then could be sold through procedures that are in place. So it still would have to go through a process, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Can I make a comment, please? And I appreciate all of you all showing up tonight, especially during your restful summer vacation, which I hope you're having a good one. Ms. Cruz, Ms. Culverhouse, outstanding presentation. Thank you for coming up tonight. Unfortunately, I cannot support this decision. From a business standpoint and looking at this very closely, I'm very concerned about some of the particulars of this particular business deal. There's no doubt about it that we need this for you all. I get that. But at what cost? For what? Maybe 15 to 20 events, we'll be paying over $200,000 for what? A parking lot. I urge the board to think hard about upcoming financial challenges that we face as a board. Most of you read the headlines every single day about the legislature cutting back on funding. And this year we've had to really do a big job of cutting from the budget. So this is why it makes me feel like at this point we should again develop a new mindset towards our finances. I'm sorry if I've offended anybody, but as a citizen, I have to make those decisions with the taxpayers' money. And from that standpoint, I will be voting no tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whitten.
I just wanted to share that, being on the board and that area has always been talked about that we hoped, and Mrs. Rayner has been very accommodating and allowing us to use that. Of course, right after the meeting, I had people call me, "You're gonna pay $200,000, Mrs. Howerton, for a parking lot?" And Mrs. Culverhouse, and you getting up and giving your presentation, I'd feel a little bit better if I could recoup some of that money.
Yeah, I do too.
And I don't know how I would say that in a roundabout way, and we could probably use that lot where the house is, but if we have to tear down that house, that's gonna cost us a lot of money. It's not cheap to tear down something unless somebody's gonna donate it to us and haul it off. So that's where, I don't know if there could be an amendment that be a part of the consideration that we sell that house. I don't know what Dr. Longshore's feelings are like that. I do think that it is very much needed for the school and for the parents. I do think it is. I know there's another house in the back that we always discuss too, that I think, that might help with some parking down the road. But the sad thing is that people sometimes think if the government's buying it, we have deep pockets. Well, we don't. That's the problem. I mean, this year, as Mr. Whitten is saying, we are really looking at some challenges. So, Mrs. Nash, I'm asking you as a board member, if I were to consider this, which I had considered it, but now kind of looking at that house, I'm thinking, because I did explain to the person that called me, I said, there's a house on there, and so the value has come up, but it's with that house included. So, I mean, we haven't been parking on that other lot. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know that we want to become in the rental business, either.
Ms. Howard?
Parking just in the 2 lots.
Yeah,
And
no, I
never
know
in that
that,
other
but
lot, yeah.
but the house would help us with some value.
And Ms. Howard, I can say too, I did ask, I spoke with the listing agent for the property, and asked specifically if the family would be willing to sell just the vacant lots without the house, and was told no, that they were listing it all, the lot with the house as well as the 2 vacant lots, and they were going to be selling it together. Just to add that information for you all to consider.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of their value too, because they know that what it's needed for, and I understand that too on their perspective. Their mother was very generous, and school was very generous in how they worked with her and everything, but I'm just asking if I were to consider this, because folks, we're gonna have to start looking for some money somewhere on certain things.
What would be the process if we were wanting to try to parse that out? If we purchased the whole property and if we wanted to parse that out to sell the home, what would that process look like?
The first thing I would need to do is see if there was a unity of title on the
Yeah.
property. I'm not aware of one. The title work that came in did not pull one, but I would want to double check that. If there's a unity of title, then I would have to go in front of just the Avon Park Council and or the county, I
That'd be a
forget where it's
problem,
zoned,
yeah.
just to get that broken. Shouldn't be a problem, but would be some paperwork. After that, it would be making sure it was declared as surplus. It would come in front of the board. I think you guys have done that a couple times. And just said, hey, this property is not necessary for any educational purposes of the district, so it's gonna be declared surplus property. And then you could dispose of it. If there was a buyer that you knew was interested, we could go through that. If we needed to list it, we could go through that. If you wanted to do an RFP and put it out there and have bids come in, you could do it that way. But there are avenues where it could be sold. It would just be a process. Along the way, there would be some paperwork to file with DOE to make it clear that it was coming off of your normal rolls. And it would be paperwork heavy, but I do believe it would be possible.
Well, I'd like to make an amendment to this. Is it a proposal or we're actually approving the
Approving the
resolutions?
resolution.
That's what I didn't quite understand when I was thinking.
Yes, ma'am. For the purchase, you all previously at I think it was the May 19th meeting, you approved the contract.
Right.
And so the contract was between you and the personal representative of the estate of Ms. Renner. And you approved.
That's right. We're kind of waiting on the
moving-
value.
Right, moving forward with that.
And
To
Came in close.
To
Yeah.
purchase, the law requires that you all, as a board, affirm, you are required to get an appraisal. The appraisal came back. It is appraised at $204,000, which is above the purchase price of $199,900.
Does it even itemize? I can't remember. Does it even itemize just the house itself? Not really. Did they even go there in the appraisal?
The appraisal was a few pages long. I'm not sure how it
Because
broke down.
sometimes when I've looked at them, sometimes
I
they'll.
don't think it did.
They
I
might.
know it,
Yeah, I
it
printed
did
that
say
one
in there,
from
if I
the desk.
recall, that the fact that it had the vacant land was something that the appraiser gave weight to, as part of the appraisal. He gave his opinion in there.
No, I mean, look, I've
We
got,
have it.
I've got it.
Yeah, we have it.
I don't know, Dr. Longshore, is it something that you might see that we could look into? Because we've already, we accept the appraisal.
Certainly.
And I don't want the school to, other sad thing is we always can't guarantee who our neighbor might be.
Right.
And,
Dr.
you know,
Longshore,
yes,
have we negotiated with the owner, the estate of the property as far as a price? Are they pretty much set on what they want to sell that property for?
Yes, I know Shannon is.
Insofar as the closing cost, are we going to pay those also?
Yes, we
No,
are.
I hated that too, also.
And it's certainly not that we want to necessarily be in the landlord business, but, if we ever did even consider some of our TPG teachers, and, you know, there might be some space there, or we might want to just offload the house. I mean, there could be a number of things that we could look at to consider, but that has been some of the challenges that we have faced with some of our TPG teachers coming in and having places to live. They could be right across the street from Avon Elementary if they were in that situation. But anyway, that might be another thing to think about with the property itself. But we might be better positioned to just sell it, you know, outright.
Are we also working through a real estate agent too at this point, where they'll receive a commission? And I believe it was Miss Audrey's intention to sell it to the board directly without those costs,
I
so.
think Ms. Nash can probably even speak to that because she's been involved with this along the way, so.
There were conversations prior to Ms. Renner passing away, and the family at that time decided not to do anything with the property while she was still alive. And so now that she's passed away, they made the decision to list it so that I think someone had even said they're from out of town. And so they made the decision to list it. And this is where we're at now.
There's another.
I think Ms. Howerton was kind of leaning towards this a little bit, but I'm just, is it possible to direct this motion to give the instructions to the idea that we would like to, I mean, hopefully that's what, I think we're talking that way, but offload the house as part of this, like make sure that happens.
That's what I'm kind of, we can somehow recoup something, and I know.
The
it might
majority
be
of it, and that'd be
bene-
two-thirds, three-quarters of it, you
It
know?
might be beneficial down the road for us to have this, but also right now, like Mr. Whidden is saying, that's where we're
I
at.
think we'd have a very difficult job of offloading the house with interest rates as they are. And, I mean, it would make me feel a lot better if we could sell that house. That would recoup a lot of the cost. And that would make me feel much better about this particular business end of the deal.
That's why I would be willing to make an amendment that we make an attempt.
So would it be, like would the motion be to approve the resolution and approve and authorize the closing to purchase and give direction that staff
Yeah.
Is that possible?
investigate selling
Yes.
the
maybe.
house and maintaining the vacant
Yeah,
lots?
after seeing the appraisal come through, because really that's probably where a lot of the value
Oh,
is.
absolutely, probably three-quarters of it, I would imagine, you know?
Yeah, because I can't even imagine what it's gonna cost to have it hauled off. I'd be probably another 100,000, really.
And we've
So
never
it's
needed all three lots,
expensive.
we've always
Yeah.
only needed two to this
Yeah,
point.
it's
and I
always
think
worked
that's-
out for the two lots.
I
I
like
know
it.
we could probably use that, but, I mean, it would be better than nothing at all.
And so could that be a direction that we give as part of the motion?
I'll second your motion.
I mean, I'm just saying, I
Yeah,
haven't made it
to
yet,
the
but
motion.
yeah, I mean, is that, before I do it, I wanted to make sure that that was legal and that way we can do that.
It's not as pretty and clean as I would like it.
I'd like to give direction there.
My brain is focused on the fact that you all need a resolution to authorize purchasing. And then simultaneous, you need a resolution authorizing the closing in order for staff to be able to transfer funds, to sign off on closing documents and things like that. The other issue, so I see that all as one package issue. The other issue that you all have been discussing is separate and apart and would not even occur unless the closing goes through. It is completely possible that the closing does not happen for one reason or another. It's completely possible, even though you guys authorize it, it may still fall through for whatever reason. The seller may back out between now and the date of closing. Something catastrophic may happen, who knows? So that's completely possible. The house may burn down between now and then, or a hurricane comes through, or something like that. There could be some calamity that happens. So I see the one package is just getting you to closing, and then separately is the issue of directing the superintendent or the staff to give us some more information on how we can make this possible. What are some avenues? Do we use it for something? Does the superintendent have an idea for utilizing that property for some reason? Is it something that needs to be torn down because it's just old and you have a $15,000 quote for just tearing it down and that was more cost effective? Or can you actually sell it and get it out? What are all of those different options? So maybe, again, I see them as separate. I see you getting to
The
closing.
bad thing is we had to, I knew I wanted that for those lots, but
Right.
for that amount, and then maybe having the option to retrieve some of the dollars until we had the appraisal. So that's kind of where it's kind of hard sometimes when you're making a decision.
Right.
But I knew it's something we definitely needed to look in and have the appraisal done. And I was really surprised, but the appraisal came through. Because when the person called me and said, "You're paying that for a lot, a parking lot?" And I was like,
But I like the idea of the creativity that's going on tonight. We're trying to think through some things, possibly sell the house or use it for a teacherage, but I like that innovation that we're trying to put forward, just saying, okay, here's $200,000 and you take the money, but we're trying to be creative with our thoughts here as leaders, and I
Does
think that,
200,000 include the closing costs for realtor? Probably not. Title insurance, closing?
The Realtor Commission does not come directly from the school board, so that's not on top.
Oh, I thought we were gonna have to pay the realtor's commission. I thought that was,
No,
Mm.
the seller's responsible.
And the offer is $199, whatever it is.
$199.9.
Yeah,
Okay.
205.
So there are additional costs on top of that. There's the cost for doing the appraisal, which has already been done, so you can even get to this point. There was the
Yeah.
cost of the survey, so you know what you're looking at when you're out there. So there's those type of costs. There's title insurance, which I think is around $1,700 or so.
that survey will be beneficial if we do decide to take off the house off of it.
Right.
Do
how much
see-
are we looking at as far as the total closing cost that would be added on to the price?
I can estimate.
Okay, estimate. Yeah.
Numbers and, I think the appraisal,
Oh, it was 500 or something, I don't know. 400. We got dock stamps and on the 200,000, 70 cents per 100.
I think it would be less than 4,000.
Really? Okay. We're going through her office.
I can tell you, I'm much more comfortable with it if we would move directly into the work of offloading the house instead of hanging on to it. While I do understand it could be very convenient and we could find, some options for it and some utilization, I think we have plenty of space and we are dealing with declining enrollment, not increasing enrollment, and so we need to not gain more property, but I know there's no place. You guys are landlocked, and so, that piece is very hard for me as a school board member to know that we have lost that parking space for these families, and then we're gonna ask them to, and it's not high school families, we're asking elementary families to walk, and I know we are in really tough times, but I don't know what other option we have either,
No, I
so
don't either,
it
but
helps knowing
I just want for the record that we are gonna look into something else.
that is where,
That's where I'm at.
yep, and I agree. I do not want to hang on to that house if we would move into purchasing the property. I want us to immediately begin the work of offloading it.
So can we amend this tonight that we could begin forwarding that sale of the house? Because I would certainly feel better if we could.
I think it's two separate.
It's two separate
So I
deals,
think if
okay, yeah.
we
Put it on the next
Dr.
agenda.
just
Longshore's
ask
asking,
Dr.
could it
Longshore
be brought-
verbally,
And I think too that it seems like there's a general consensus that if the closing occurs, you all want to see movement of
yes,
disposing of the
Don't,
house.
don't be the housing business
yes.
Right.
or a school.
Right. So, and I think the closing would be set to occur on or before July 16th. So I think it would be 2 meetings from now, potentially before the closing would have occurred. And
We can bring that back on the agenda as far as moving forward with the disbursements. Okay.
So I'll make a motion to consider approval of the resolution authorizing the closing to purchase the real property at 710 West Winthrop Street in Avon Park.
I'll second that.
So, well, we had already had
I
the
thought we had
motion
had
from
one.
Dr.
I didn't realize we had a long
Which is
motion.
why
Okay.
we didn't have to.
It's been a long time
we
ago.
didn't
I
have to
forgot all
amend
about it.
Whitney seconded, actually.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Mr. Whitten seconded, and since we don't have to amend anything, we can stick with that. So we have already had our discussion. Is there any other board member discussion?
Members of the audience, I do feel much better about possibly the sale of that home that would sort of recoup the cost of that $200,000. But you have to, this has been one of my tougher votes on the board. And I have to tell you, I'm thinking of you people out there and what you go through every day as teachers, because I was once in your place, and I understand that. But I also have to see things through a different lens now as a board member, and that's a steward of the taxpayers' money. And I'm trying to do the best I can, but also make you happy and make the families happy as well. This is a very tough job, and I hope that you'll keep me in your prayers on it every day.
It is not for the faint of heart, that's for sure, especially when you have that teacher heart. Okay. We are ready.
Clarification, I know
Yes.
he seconded, but then he mentioned in his comments he was gonna vote no, so unless that has changed, do I still call it out as such?
You do, yes.
So Dr. Durr,
Yes.
Mr. Whitten,
Yes.
Mrs. Howerton,
Yes.
and Chair.
Yes. When we do want, am I able to, can we just include for the record that I'm asking for Dr. Longshore to look into the sale
Yeah.
of the property.
I
of
don't
the
want to hold on to
house.
that house.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Item 9D, consider appointment of school board member to serve as the 2025-2026 Florida School Board Association Advocacy Representative. So for the 24-25, Mrs. Howerton as representative and Dr. Durrance as alternate.
That's great.
So I think we need to have a motion.
I make a motion to approve.
I will second it.
Just to clean it up, yeah.
So we have a motion from Mr. Whitten. We have a second from myself. Do we have any public comment on this? That was the last one, and you're welcome.
She could think this one too, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Th- Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Any board member comments? Okay.
Mr. Whitten,
Yes.
Chair,
Yes.
Mrs. Howerton,
Yes.
Dr. Durr.
Yes.
Okay, item 9E, consider approval of position for Coordinator of Safety and Security and Avid.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Whitten. I have a second from Dr. Durrance. Do I have any public comment on this? Do I have any board member comment on this?
No, I kind of got confused here, folks. So I just been talking to Mrs. Nash on this afternoon. My only question, Dr. Longshore, is we're really creating a position we've not had.
Right, we've had a director position,
Yeah.
so this will be reducing to a coordinator position.
So when you have something like that, I think you have to put it out for advertisement. I don't know.
I'm not sure about that.
I remember one time I went into Mr. McClure was here, and he's
Right.
like, oh yeah, Donna, we've changed any of the things, and it's gotta be, advertised, and I'm not saying that who you got in mind wouldn't.
Certainly. I was wondering, because it is a coordinator to a coordinator, when it is a lateral move like that, maybe
But-
we
but-
can get some more
Yeah,
clarification.
but this was a director position, now it's going to coordinator, which I'm fine with
Right,
that, but I'm
sure.
just saying, this, really, it's a legal question.
at least from the historical perspective, there was a time period with Mr. McClure that anytime we had a new position that it went through the APA process. Still underneath Mr. McClure, that ended up changing, and I believe it was specifically as far as it was either the interpretation of the language or the language itself at that time. But at that point, we stopped going through the APA process for positions, but they still came before the board. And it was just a change in practice when we had Mr. McClure as far as the steps that were advised for us to take specifically with that. Some of that was tied into once we had the formation of a specific position, such as one we designated coordinator. You know, we could have coordinator of this or coordinator of that. That once the position itself was designated coordinator, that you could have coordinator of different type of positions, but the base, as far as the base minimum qualifications, would have stayed the same. So I remember some of the conversation tied to that. This is going back several years at this point, but it was a shift which would have taken place with Mr. McClure.
And I'm okay with voting on this job description. I would like Mrs. Nash to confirm with other school board attorneys that this is this is doable. I just want to make sure. I don't recall what you're saying that it ever changed, sitting in the seat. So that's what I'm trying to think though. Now when Mrs. Twist went in her position, that position was not advertised.
Can I ask clarification? Because I think there may be discussion about two different things right now. Ms. Howerton, is your...
Yeah, I know we're not voting on the person doing
Right,
this.
right, but is your question more towards this job, if it's approved, if this job description is approved, then the job itself needs to be posted so that
Right.
people can apply for it?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay.
That's what my question is. I mean, I don't know that we can just put somebody in there.
So going along with that, when it is a lateral, so just even like a principal to a principal.
Be considered the transfer.
Or an assistant
right.
to an assistant principal, a director to a director position, when it is a lateral move like that, is there the freedom to move from one position to the other as we have with other positions? I guess is that
Right.
what you're thinking as far as moving Ms. Howerton from a coordinator
You're
to a
actually-
coordinator?
It's just a new position. I'm not even saying a coordinator position. I'm saying this is a whole new position, folks.
We have
You've
not
never had it.
Right.
So, that's just what my question is. I mean, I'm good
When
with
you have
the
a
job
first term.
description. I just need
I can look
confirmation. We
into
get
it
ready to
more.
vote
Sure.
on that person going into that we've done it right.
Okay,
Right.
sure.
I'm not aware of
Thank you.
anything, but I'll look into it and see
Okay,
if there's a
thank you.
requirement.
Thank you. Good question.
I did have some reach out and just ask a little bit about looking at the minimum qualifications for it. So I pulled minimum qualifications for when we had Director of Safety and Security, and I realized Director, and I went ahead and just asked for all coordinator positions, all director, all everything, so that I could just get a full look. So all director positions do have 5 years' experience in related area. Coordinator positions have 3 years. But then I did look at, some of our coordinators that require maybe a little bit of some specialized. So coordinator of exceptional student education, coordinator of student services, those two specifically, those minimum qualifications are a little bit different. And I think it's fairly recently that we changed those because it requires a little bit of some specialization in what they do. So I had some people reaching out and asking about the piece. If you guys look under, so what is being proposed, if you guys look at additional desired qualifications, there's the 3 years experience working with safety protocols and procedures. There's the master's degree preferred in law enforcement, public safety, administration, or management. And then there's the school-based leadership or related area. And so that number 3 was a piece that I had quite a few reach out to me and share the importance that they felt that that would be included under the minimum qualifications for this position, just because of the heavy lift of what is being asked in terms of the safety and security of expulsions, of process, of referrals, of all of those things to ensure. And again, I'm going to say we're looking at the position, so I'm looking at for the long haul. I'm not looking at for right now. And that is our responsibility. So I would like for us to consider, at least have some discussion on that piece, at looking at adding in that school-based leadership or related area into the minimum qualifications for this.
This is a very, very important position. Very, very important. And that's, I got to looking at also, Ms. Radonsky, looking at the minimum, and then I looked at the additional desired, and I was like, oh my gosh, some of those need to be up there.
That's where.
In that other box, you know? So.
That's where I'm at. I would feel better if, you know, and as it stands, the Director of Safety and Security down at the additional desired qualifications had school-based leadership. I would feel better if we had that piece in there.
And I think, Dr. Longshore, what you were trying to do was help give a little bit at the district level.
And I
appreciate
Me
that.
too.
But then I look at the importance of this, and I don't know that I want to cut qualifications to make it work for a coordinator, you know, position. So it's, you know, I mean, folks, this is very important, and it's going to fall back in our laps.
Well, in legislation, they're not letting up on what they require for safety and security. They're adding every year, more and more is added to the load.
Absolutely.
So, and it is our job to ensure that it's being properly
Staffed.
staffed.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Lethbridge, Deputy Superintendent. History with different jobs. Many times, different individuals have to come back and forth in front of the board, lowering minimum standards. Where I end up looking at the minimums, there's many things that we would like. There's many things that we would prefer. The tighter that we make that box, and the closer that we make that box, the smaller amount of people that we will have to qualify for that. So there are things that are vitally important, even as we go through the interviewing process and different things. But at times we start eliminating individuals that might not have that one piece, but would have been a great candidate as an individual otherwise. So my only recommendation is we end up having that recommended place that ends up saying, this is what we really want in different areas, but here is the bare minimum in that box specifically. And it doesn't mean that other things aren't important, but it leaves us the flexibility to be able to look at different candidates, sometimes think outside the box and end up saying, wow, this is a great candidate in this area when we're interviewing and going through that process where now more than ever, we have different people that come from different fields, they're changing their careers and all of that. I've just seen it many times through the year. If we make the box too tough, then it's difficult to end up filling those positions. So the recommendation, looking at the other coordinators, it's not that any minimums are perfect, and we could edit them many different ways. But there's the flexibility piece of it as far as, okay, we're looking at candidates that have to at least meet this, additional things that we would really like for them to have, here are these check marks, but having it outside the box gives us flexibility to really end up looking for that best candidate that sometimes might not have every check mark that we think, but they're a great candidate as well. So just for consideration, thank you.
It's like Ms. Radonsky says, it's not about the person. Where we have taken minimum qualifications, is nowhere near the level of this individual, what position they will hold. And, I'm struggling. You know.
I am too. And I just heard feedback from schools on this and where just that piece of having that knowledge of living that school-based or leadership or related area. And I'm looking at the position. Again, that is what I'm looking at, because in 10 years, in 15 years, if this is still sitting here, we're not gonna be, but we have to ensure
Safety of our
that we've
students.
got, and that's top priority, and we've,
And thinking about just fleshing out related area, just for clarification, on school-based leadership or related area, some level of leadership.
Definitely.
I'm looking through and reading the performance responsibilities. I don't understand how that couldn't be a minimum qualification. And on this one, it just says school-based leadership. On this one, it says school-based leadership or related area, which I think that's pretty vague. I don't know what else it,
That could be a lot of things.
yeah, I've sat on the curriculum leadership team, but that doesn't mean that I should be a coordinator of safety and security by any means. So,
But there are a number of leadership opportunities across our district that would expand that if we were using that language of school-based leadership or related area, some area of leadership.
I want our administrators to know that I have approved minimum qualifications, and that the person that then fulfills that position has done, kind of what they do day in and day out, and because ultimately they're then over them of what they do.
Leading the work.
So I would feel better if that was up there, and that is the feedback that I got. And I understand, Mr. Lethbridge and I had conversation today about it. I understand that it does make that harder, but
I
like
also-
Ms. Howerton
I
said,
also did get some calls and concerns.
it's important.
It's very important. You know?
Well, you're dealing with the security of their children, and they're very concerned about that, and they want us to pick or have those provisions for someone who is good at what they do. And I too have received some comments from parents.
And has the knowledge.
Exactly.
I do think if we add that, if the board chooses to add that into the minimum qualifications and you have enough flexibility within it where you do have school-based leadership or related areas of leadership, it's where there has been some leadership exhibited in the career of whatever person's coming into this position,
Right.
then it doesn't narrow it, as even Mr. Lethbridge was referring to, where you get your minimum requirements so close that it gives some flexibility to make sure that you're getting the best candidate in that position. Another thing, as you spoke of, Ms. Howerton, I was trying to look at every position and saving those dollars, thinking about the pay grades of each one of these positions. If you are a school principal coming into a coordinator position, that probably would never happen because you would take a loss in salary to be able to do that. It's really very close even with an administrator and a director position. But that was certainly some of my thinking in trying to save those dollars as we move along, but still ensure that we have a very strong person in that position. So I do think that would give some leverage there, knowing that there was some leadership in the career of the individual that was coming into that position.
That relates to the safety and security piece, because that would be the related area. I would feel better if that was in the minimum qualifications.
Sure.
So,
I'm good with that.
um,
Yeah, wanted to speak, Kim Urban, I think wanted to speak.
Ms. Irvin, would you like to speak?
So we're raising her hand.
You didn't have to raise your hand, you can just come and speak.
Kim Irvin, principal at Sebring High School for a few more days. I was just wondering, when you guys were talking about it, and you were saying school-based leadership, to me, like, I'm thinking about a lot of different people that may be qualified for this just because they have a security background, or maybe a law enforcement background or military background, that sort of thing. So to me, if you said just school-based administrator, you're,
Narrowing it.
yes, you're
Yeah, I agree. I
precluding
like
those
1 and 2
people,
better.
so.
I like 1 and 2.
And that's why I like the related area. I just wanted to ensure that the related area means it's related in safety and security leadership,
Right.
not just leadership,
Right.
period.
Yes,
Like I said,
agree.
you know,
Yeah,
I could
just
say.
don't want to
Yes,
preclude, I
right.
Okay.
just for me, and I agreed with what Mr. Lethbridge said, and I think probably other people that have gone through the interview process before, you want to be able to interview, because you
Mhm.
never know, what comes out in an interview, and maybe things that once you're talking to the people and you see it, then you're able to say, oh my gosh, you really are the perfect fit, and that's not exactly what I thought, but your experience really will enrich this position, so, and inform it, so I just wanted to share.
Thank you. Okay, so then, Ms. Nash, let me make sure then that we are clear, because we had a motion from Mr. Whitten, a second from Dr. Durance. Does Mr. Whitten need to amend his motion and say that, to have it include, or can that just be because we've included it in discussion?
It would have to be as part of a motion. So Mr. Withen can either can amend his motion and include specific language to make that clear what the change needs to be with the exact wording, or he can remove his motion. Someone else can then make a motion.
I'm going to remove my motion at this time, so we can go ahead and have a clearer definition of that for our next motion.
Thank you.
I need to remove my second, I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion that we have the minimum qualifications, but if we do add the school-based leadership or related area, it would have to be in the area of the position.
Ms. Howerton, could I clarify what I
Yeah, you
think you're
can say it for me better if
saying?
you'd like.
So well, not better, no ma'am. So it would be a motion to approve the job description of the position for Coordinator of Safety and Security and AVID as presented, with the exception that in the minimum qualifications, the enumerated paragraph 2 would say 3 years experience in school-based leadership or in an area related to
Yes,
safety
ma'am.
and security.
Perfect, right. That would be my motion.
Okay.
Paragraph 2,
In the minimum qualifications.
under minimum
Under minimum
qualifications.
qualifications, yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we're basically moving, I want to ensure, we're basically moving number 3 from additional desired qualifications into the minimum qualifications.
The,
And stating that would be in the related area.
Right.
yes and no at the same time, it
Okay.
depends. The minimum qualifications and the overall approval of the job description is what the board has control over.
Mhm.
So whether or not the superintendent would take the redundant language out under the
I
additional
see.
desired qualifications.
So that's up to her to take
Right.
So
out.
would we
additional
be
desire.
doing, so we wouldn't be saying the school-based leadership in there?
I'm going to read it. I
Yes.
wrote down while
Okay.
you all were talking earlier in discussion, and wrote down that paragraph 2, the enumerated paragraph 2, in the minimum qualifications box would read 3 years experience in school-based leadership or in an area related to safety and security.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Okay, so then I will second that motion. Okay, so then with that, because it's a new motion, any public comment on this one? Any board member comment? Thank you, we're ready.
Mrs. Howerton?
Yes.
Chair?
Yes.
Dr. Durant?
Yes.
Mr. Whitten?
Yes.
All right. Consider approval of modified job description for teacher and nursing. I know we don't have a Mr. Morgan. Would you like to come up and speak, Mr. Lethbridge? Thank you.
Andrew Lethbridge, Deputy Superintendent. There's additional flexibility as far as how we end up certifying specific teachers in some areas. And so really we're looking at modifying this job description just to add some of the different paths that the state has allowed. So for teaching specifically, for nurses, this job is specific for nursing. If a nurse ends up with different criteria, has experience as a nurse, there's different pathways that as a district we can end up certifying them. It's still very stringent as far as I've seen it, and we've worked with different nurses, and some nurses end up making it and some don't. It's still a very stringent process as far as how many years experience do they have, multiple different experiences they have to really end up providing, and we end up contacting the employers throughout the years to verify what they were doing. So it's still a very stringent process, but it's really just providing more flexibility, that the state has provided more flexibility as far as different ways for us to end up being able to certify specific positions. Culinary is another similar example that we can do this with. There are others as well, but we're really just trying to take advantage of the flexibility as different people may consider working with our students. That we can end up certifying them without them necessarily going through a teaching degree, but they may be an expert in their field, and so those are really the ones that we're trying to capture, and this is what this change is just proposing.
I think Mr. Morgan has spoke to me one time about this, because Mr. Tuning, do you even have, no, and that's been a challenge. Okay, so Mr. Morgan explained this would really help. So I appreciate Mr. Morgan sharing that. That makes, now I understand where we are.
Yeah. So before we discuss further, do I have a motion
I'm
for
going to make a
this?
motion.
I have a motion from Mrs. Howerton.
A second.
Okay, and a second from Dr. Durrance. Do we have, did you want to come speak? No, okay. Do I have any public comment? Okay, do I have any board member comments on this one? I want us to get somebody for Lake Placid and continue to grow our nursing. I know it's a desired field, and
Yes.
so I think it's important that we can offer to our high schoolers, and that we can find people that will teach our high schoolers. So, okay.
Mrs. Howerton?
Yes.
Dr. Durant?
Yes.
Mr. Whitten?
Yes.
And Chairs?
Yes. Item 13A, request approval of the administrator's signature authorization effective as of July 1st, 2025, as required by the state auditor. That is the one. And that is going to be our revised copy.
Right, that's correct.
So, as revised.
Move approval as revised.
Second.
I have a motion for Mrs. Howerton, a second for Mr. Whitten. Do I have any public comment on this? Do I have any board member comments? Okay,
Mrs. Howerton?
Yes.
Mr. Whitten?
Yes.
Dr. Durant?
Yes.
And Chairs?
yes. Item 13B, consider approval to award contract for internal funds audit services to Carr, Riggs, and Ingram, SBHC 2425-34.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Dr. Durance, a second from Mr. Whitten. Do I have any public comment on this? Don't know if Mrs. Hanks or
I know, I was kind of
Angelica
hoping, and
are
I
here.
didn't get to speak to her, but I'm trying to understand, because someone left Cox's, Wicks, Brown, and Williams, they didn't turn in a bid?
They did not. They said they didn't have anyone that could do that.
Oh, they did not have anyone
Yes,
that could do
ma'am.
it? It wasn't an oversight
Oh,
on
no, ma'am.
their part
No,
or
ma'am.
anything? Okay, okay. 'Cause I
She's
know
retired.
We have used
The
them for
lady,
years.
she is
Right.
retired, so, yes.
So, and
They explained that
That's
they
what I
are
thought.
down a person at
Right.
Wicks, Brown, and Williams, so
Mhm.
there's Ms. Hanks. If you want to come and share, you're welcome to.
We're sad.
yeah, because I was just like, they've done it for years,
They
like,
have.
Yes, they've done it for several years. Stephanie, Director of Finance, sorry. So yes, we did invite them to bid, as well as many others. They did reach out and let us know that they had a retirement, so they just don't have the staffing capability at the present moment. So in the future, they may do a proposal, but for now, they did not.
Thank you.
And then this was the only bid that was submitted.
It was,
So.
yes.
We'll give them a try.
Thank you.
Any other board comment?
I think sometimes when you have something like this happen, it is disappointing, but sometimes another door is open, and we may be very happy with the new accounting. But I do, like you said, Wicks, Brown, and Williams has been around for a long time. We can trust their advice, but this could be something very good for us, hopefully.
Hate that this one's not local, but
Uh-huh.
it is what it is, so. Okay.
Dr. Durance?
Yes.
Mr. Whitten?
Yes.
Mrs. Howerton?
Yes.
Chair.
Yes. Item 13C, consider approval to award contract for exterior painting for Lake Country Elementary to I believe it's Pinky Gravely and Sons Painting Incorporated, SBHC 2425-36.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Whitten. I have a second from Mrs. Howerton. Any public comment? I know Mr. Brown reached out to us.
Yes.
assume
Just
everyone
amazed
got
at
it.
all the bids that
Yeah.
go out and we just don't get any responses.
Yeah.
Must have lots of work out there.
It is
Yeah.
a new company he shared, but did get a lot of great reviews. So,
Okay.
good feedback from Polk
Yeah.
County, so,
Yes.
okay.
Mr. Whitten?
Yes.
Mrs. Howerton?
Yes.
Dr. Durance?
Yes.
Chair.
Yes. Any emergency items? That's a no. HCEA, HCESPA member comments? Thank you for coming. School board attorney comments?
No comments other than to remind you that there's an executive session immediately following regarding bargaining.
Thank you. All right, we will move into board member comments. Mr. Whitten, you're up first tonight.
I hope that everybody's having a great summer vacation. Get your rest. I'm really impressed with some of the vacation stories I've been reading about out there. Just soak up this relaxation, get out there and enjoy, and just have a fabulous summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whitten. Mrs. Howerton?
Same as Mr. Whitten. Hope everyone's having a good summer. We went to school board conference, Mr. Whitten, and it's just always good to network and see things. I actually called Mrs. Mortensen, I think she stepped out, on something that I kind of like to look into. I shared with, I'm going to leave it with Mandy and get her maybe to make some copies, but when I'm talking with our small schools district consortium, Mr. Doolin, one of the receptions that I went to, he introduced me to Mrs. Wendy Dodge, who's out of Polk County, but I'm in talking to some school board members in Dixie County, along with it, they piggyback off of Baker County. They actually utilize this firm called the Southern Group, and I never thought we needed a lobbyist, but I just see that, people are saying, why don't y'all reach out for dollars? Well, we did, and I understand where our legislation was at that time, and I'm not saying, but when I have another county tell me that we paid $3,500 a month for this firm, and they got us $9 million for roofs and air conditioners, I'm like, oh my gosh, so for the turnaround. So I would be open as a board member, I don't know the rest of the board, to just let this woman come and maybe do a presentation or talk to us. I don't know what setting we can do that in, and I don't know because of the amount, you know, is it something that would have to be bid, you know, but, you know, how all that works. Mrs. Nash, I got thinking about that as I was coming, and I have a copy of her bio, but there were other counties that got up and spoke very highly. I kind of hinted around to her, we maybe piggyback off of Dixie County and Baker, and she was like, I don't think so. So I said, okay, but we might be able to talk her into something. But I see she's very well respected by Bill Munford, so you might want to touch base with him also. But I would like to just explore and just, you know, see, because folks, if somebody can help us get us dollars, I think we would benefit Highlands County down the road. The more we can. So, that'd be all I have tonight.
Thank you. Dr. Durrance?
There's certainly a process in Tallahassee. There's lots of processes in Tallahassee. One is relationships, one is knowing how to get it through. And so I was also part of some of that. And I know Ms. Howerton served as an ambassador at the school board conference. I was a moderator again this year, so that was cool. And Mr. Whidden was there, and it was great to have those relationships. I have a couple things I wanted to share with Dr. Longshore too. I'm going to work on that too, because I've got some things that I went to and attended that I really liked, and one was capturing some of the students that had dropped out, bringing them back in, and it was a cooler process that Osceola was using. So we're going to go over that some point, and just enjoy the summer. And we started the school year 25 years from me, so not near Mr. Wooden's range, but I'm getting there. So, that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Overfield, thank you for coming and sharing and for being diligent and persistent in what you share. I did share with Dr. Longshore about looking at maybe doing some things a little bit differently with our agendas, just to help a little bit in ensuring that the board is well informed on things. And I think most governmental entities kind of utilize the process and doing kind of like agenda item summaries on each of the agenda items. So I just wanted to make the board aware too. And I looked at some other counties, and Dr. Longshore was very excited and open for it, so I appreciate that. And they'll break down, so when things are presented for us, we can see the financial impact, we can see educational impact, if that has a piece within curriculum or wherever it may be. We can see whether it will be grant funded, whether it would be out of our general fund, so that we can also keep a little bit better hold, because, we are in the situation we are in, and we have to learn, and we have to ensure that we do better. And so that means I believe that I think we need to make some changes for the good. And so I think this could be something that would help us. And so I look forward to seeing that sooner rather than later. I do hope everyone, you're down to about one more month. So the summer flies by. So I hope all of you have an amazing summer and get some rest and relaxation. So with that, no more further business. So our meeting is adjourned at 7:21, and we are going into an executive session. Thank you, guys.